I used to work late nights at a diner off a quiet highway in Pennsylvania. My shifts often ended after 2 a.m., and since I lived about 30 minutes away, I got used to driving through empty, dark backroads alone. One particular night, as I pulled onto the highway, I noticed a pair of headlights appear behind me. First I thought nothing of it, cars share the road. But this car stayed behind me for far too long. Every turn I took, it followed. Every stop sign, it stopped. I tried convincing myself it was just coincidence. But then, when I merged onto a smaller road near the woods, the headlights cut off. My heart sank. Whoever it was had turned off their lights. But I could still see the faint silhouette of the car tailing me in the moonlight. I pressed my foot on the gas. My car sped up, but so did theirs. My breathing grew heavier as I felt the cold sweat form on the back of my neck. Finally, I made a sharp turn onto my street and floored it into my driveway. I jumped out, sprinted to my porch, and fumbled with my keys. When I finally got inside and slammed the door, I peeked through the blinds. The road was empty. No car. Nothing. But the next morning I went outside to leave for work, and froze. On the back window of my car, written in the condensation, were 3 words traced with a finger. Nice house, neighbor. Back in college, I worked part-time as a night shift janitor at the campus library. The place was massive and always dead quiet after hours. One evening, around 1 a.m., I was vacuuming the 3rd floor when I heard a faint ringing sound. I muted the vacuum. It was a phone, one of the old landline phones bolted to the wall near the stairwell. But the library's phones were disconnected years ago. None of them should have been working. I walked over slowly, my stomach tightening. The ringing continued. Against my better judgment, I picked it up. There was silence at first, and then a distorted voice whispered, "Why are you in my building?" Froze. My heart was pounding so hard I thought the person on the other end could hear it. I managed to stammer out, "Who is this?" The voice answered, louder this time, and clear enough for me to understand. "Turn around." I whipped around, but the entire floor was empty. My knees felt weak. I slammed the phone back down and ran downstairs to grab my stuff. I clocked out early and refused to ever work that shift again. Years later, I mentioned this story to a friend who used to be a security guard there. His face went pale, and he told me that years ago, a student had hung himself in that very stairwell, holding the receiver of that phone. A few years back, my girlfriend and I rented a small cabin in the Appalachian Mountains for a weekend getaway. It was supposed to be romantic. No internet, no neighbors, just nature. The first night went fine. But on the second night, I woke up around 3 a.m. to the sound of footsteps outside the cabin. Slow, heavy crunches in the snow. I sat up, heart racing, and listened. The steps circled the cabin once, then stopped beneath our bedroom window. I wanted to look, but fear kept me frozen. Whoever it was stood there for what felt like hours. Finally, I whispered to my girlfriend, telling her someone was outside. But when we gathered the courage to peek out the window, there was no one. The next morning, we found something in the snow. Around the cabin were dozens of footprints, leading in circles back and forth, but there were no tracks showing anyone leaving. We packed our things in a panic and left that morning. Months later, I looked up the history of that cabin out of morbid curiosity. Turns out, a man had gone missing in those woods years prior. They never found his body, but locals believed he froze to death wandering the mountains. Some say his restless spirit still walks the property, watching guests as they sleep. And that's it for tonight's video. 3 true horror stories that are stranger than fiction.